First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Published on Twitter by David Sachs for the purpose of financial humor. A lot of people are wondering about the definition of recession. A recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth if a Republican is president. The definition is far more complicated and unknowingly if a Democrat is president. In another Twitter post published by Carl Roth, these were statements that were made by the Federal Reserve as well as the president as of recently, and other government officials over the past couple of years. There will be no inflation. Inflation is transitory. Inflation is good for you. Inflation only hurts the rich. Inflation is consumers' fault. Inflation is greedy business fault. Inflation is Putin's fault. Recessions mean something else. Bread lines are a great way to meet people. Oh boy. In the news from the AP, U.S. economy shrinks for a second quarter, raising recession fear. The U.S. economy shrank from April through June for a second straight quarter, contracting at a 9% annual pace, or 0.9% rather annual pace, and raising fears that the nation may be approaching a recession. Also, as of yesterday, the Federal Reserve had increased interest rates by 75%, or 75 BPS. The decline that the Commerce Department reported Thursday in the gross domestic product, the broadest gauge of the economy, followed a 1.6% annual drop from January through March. Consecutive quarters of falling GDP constitute one informal, though not definitive, indicator of a recession. Before I read on, I want to give all praises, blessings, glories, and honors unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha Kodash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy to the elect of the nation of Israel. Pardon me, whom we so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom and Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. This lesson is edifying, informative, concise. The GDP report for last quarter pointed to weakness across the economy. Why? Due to inflation, which is the general increase in the cost of goods and services due to the expansion of money supply within the economy. And that is inflation by definition. Consumer spending slowed as Americans brought fewer goods, and this is known as low money velocity. Okay, low money velocity. Velocity is the flow of money within a country's economy. If a country is experiencing low money velocity, which reflects its GDP, then its low velocity, which is its low consumer spending will only hurt the GDP of the economy. Okay, which is what we've been seeing over the past 2 quarters, over the past year, in fact. Why? Because of inflation. Consumer spending slowed as Americans brought fewer goods because everything is inflated. The value of the dollar has depreciated, but the cost and everything has appreciated. Business investment fell. Inventories tumbled as businesses slowed their restocking of shelves, shaving 2% points from the GDP. Higher borrowing rates, a consequence of the Federal Reserve's series of rate hikes, clobbered home construction which shrank at a 40% annual rate. Government spending dropped too. The report comes at a critical time. Consumers and businesses have been struggling under the weight of punishing inflation and higher loan costs because a lot of these companies, believe it or not, make their money off of loans, and they call them liabilities. And they basically take these liabilities, which is debt or loan or bonds, and they use it as leverage to generate more money and then pay back off their loans, their debts. Okay? Reading on, it says, punishing inflation and higher loan costs. On Wednesday, the Fed raised its benchmark rate by a sizable 3/4 of a point for a second straight time in its push to conquer the worst inflation outbreak in 4 decades. Now, in doing so, the Fed will only speed up the process of a recession and assure a recession. The Fed is hoping to, because they're increasing interest rates too aggressively, too quick. The Fed is hoping to achieve a notoriously difficult soft landing, which that's BS, because that's not going to happen realistically. An economic slowdown that manages to rein in rocketing prices without triggering a recession. Apart from the United States, the global economy as a whole is also grappling with high inflation and weakening growth, especially after Russia's invasion of Ukraine sent energy and food prices soaring. Okay? Europe, highly dependent on Russian natural gas, appears especially vulnerable to a recession. In the United States, the inflation surge and fear of a recession have eroded consumer confidence and stirred anxiety about the economy, which is sending frustratingly mixed signals. And with the November midterm elections nearing, Americans' discontent has diminished President Joe Biden's public approval ratings and could increase the likelihood that the Democrats will lose control of the House and Senate. Fed Chair Jerome Powell and many economists have said that while the economy is showing some weakenings, they doubt it's in a recession. Now, don't listen to these guys, man. This is all, BS statements, because Jerome Powell was the same one that was saying that inflation is transitory over the past 2 years. But now look at inflation. Inflation is out of control. Okay? Many of them point in particular to a still robust labor market, 11 million jobs openings, and uncommonly low 3.6% unemployment rate, to suggest that a recession, if one does occur, isn't here yet. The back-to-back contribution of GDP will feed a debate about whether the U.S. is in or soon headed for a recession, said Saul Gutierrez, senior economist at BMO Capital Markets. The fact that the economy created 2.7 million payrolls in the first half of the year would seem to argue against an official recession call for now. Still, he said, the economy has quickly lost steam in the face of 4-decade high inflation, rapidly rising borrowing costs, and general tightening in financial conditions. I mean, the point has already been read, so I'm not going to read this lengthy article. I'll leave the rest of it for you brothers and sisters to read in the description box, Lord's willing. And the point is that a recession is on the horizon here in the U.S. and ultimately across the globe. This is why these people are going to start to cast their gold and their silver in the streets, their money, because it's going to be of no use. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 19. They shall cast their silver in the streets. Why? Because it's going to be of no use. It's going to be worthless due to hyperinflation, which will soon come. And their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels. Why? Because people are going to realize that their money can't save them. Their career can't save them. That's why the Lord said to seek him while he may be found. Don't trust in your security, which cannot save you. Not Wisdom of Solomon, excuse me. Sirach chapter 7, 5, verse 7. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and put not off from day to day. Tarrying means delaying. So don't make no delayings to turn to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And put not off from day to day. Oh, I'll do it later on. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. No. Do it today. Do it now. Okay. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai come forth. And in thy security in your career, in which you trust so much. You know. Oh, I'm a doctor. I'm this, I'm that. You know. Whatever is your security, thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance if you don't seek the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai while he may be found. Because of tarrying. Set not thine heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit thee in the day of calamity. So people's goods, their resources, which is going to become worthless at the end of the day, will not profit them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, when the Lord is going to bring calamity upon this earth. Okay, this is why the Lord said this again in Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 19. It says, reading on, their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels. Why? Because they're going to realize that they don't possess that heavenly spiritual wealth, which the elect of the nation of Israel are currently laying up in heaven before Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, so that when all hell breaks loose, you know, we'll be able to cash out, so to speak. Take use what we've laid up as our defense spiritually in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. For the lack of words, it says, they shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. So their physical gold and silver and riches that are going to perish will not be able to satisfy their bowels, their minds, because it is a stumbling block of their iniquity, because they trust so much in their wealth, their riches, their resources, their security. Okay, destruction cometh, verse 25, destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. So when destruction comes, they're going to attempt to seek peace, but they won't be able to find any. I got to find those guys that's been preaching on the streets over the years. I got to see if I can find them on the internet, but guess what? It's going to be too late. You won't be able to find the prophets, the men of the Lord, because at that time wisdom is going to hide herself. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancient. So all these false prophets that you people trust, and they won't have the answers for you. Okay, because they themselves won't even be able to understand why all these things, though they may think they do, but really they don't, when they occur in the times to come. Because the Lord said that he is going to appoint over 2/3 of the nation of Israel, 4 kinds: the sword to slay, the dogs to tear, the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. All these things are being prepared as scourges for amendment. because the Lord, he has beef with 2/3 of the nation of Israel. So with that, I'll conclude this lesson, Lord's willing, and was edifying, straight to the point. Until the next Lord's willing, I say shalom to the elect.